Howdy. My name is Nonat, and if you've played Pathfinder past level 2, or you played a level 1 human, you would be familiar with the concept of general feats. These are an interesting aspect of Pathfinder 2e that most characters only get 2 or 3 of over the course of a campaign, sometimes 4 if you make it to level 19. Effectively, general feats are supposed to represent different abilities and aspects that player characters can improve upon that doesn't depend on their class or even really their skill proficiencies. This is something that anybody can do with a little bit of practice. That being said, they're weird, and there's not a whole lot of them, but we're going to cover them here today. Starting at level 3 and every 4 levels thereafter, you get to pick one of these general feats regardless of your class or most proficiencies. So let's talk about your options at each level and see what they have in store. But before we get into it, you know I gotta plug the Sinclair's Library Kickstarter. There is a link at the top of the description. You should click it and sign up for our mailing list to know exactly when the Kickstarter goes live in mid-March. Anyone who signs up for the mailing list and pledges within the first 48 hours of the Kickstarter's launch will receive a free Bandit dice set alongside their pledge. So don't miss out on the free dice. I know you goblins out there, you love free dice. Join the mailing list and pledge the Kickstarter when it goes live to make Sinclair's Library a reality. We got a ton of cool stuff coming, including the Kronog Ancestry, a completely new playable character race. So, stick around. I can't wait for you to see everything we have in store for the Kickstarter. Let's talk general feats. Starting off, adopted ancestry at first sounds really good, and then you realize it's a very slow impact. Adopted ancestry allows you to pick an additional ancestry besides your own. And you don't get anything the second you pick this feat. What it means is from now on, when you would gain an ancestry feat, you can pick from that ancestry as well. The only limiting factor is you can't take anything that depends on that ancestry's physiology. For example, if you are a gnome with the orc adopted ancestry, you could not take orc tusks because you can't just grow tusks. Adopted ancestry is about you becoming immersed in their culture. This is not the same thing as being like a half-orc. The reason this isn't my favorite feat is because you don't get to feel it until at least level 5. You only get an ancestry feat at first level, and when you take adopted ancestry at 3rd level, you don't get to take another ancestry feat until level 5. So it's a very slow start. I had fun with it on my human who took adopted ancestry kobold, but otherwise, it's really good for some niche character concepts, but overall, not that strong. Armor proficiency is such a beginner's trap because it sounds so cool, and it's not bad for low-level campaigns. If your campaign is only playing levels 1 to 5 or so, armor proficiency isn't bad. You gain trained proficiency in the next heaviest type of armor. If you're only trained in light, you gain medium armor. If you're only trained in medium and light, you gain heavy. Now, the reason I say this is a beginner's trap is because the proficiency gained from this general feat does not scale with your class proficiency increases. If you're a class that only has proficiency in light armor and that proficiency increases to expert, your proficiency in medium armor from armor proficiency does not increase. That's why this is good from levels roughly 1 to 7, maybe even 1 to 9 if you're a slow scaling class. But if you're past level 10, this feat stops helping you because your proficiency with lighter armors will outweigh the benefit of the heavier armors. Breath control, kind of insane. You can hold your breath 25 times longer than someone without this feat. Now that is a ridiculous increase. A normal person can only hold their breath for 5 rounds plus their con mod, so maybe 7 or 8 rounds. You can hold your breath for 25 times longer. That means you can hold your breath for almost 200 rounds. You even get a complimentary +1 circumstance bonus against inhalation effects, poisons, or things that need to be breathed in. You get a +1 to your saving throw. This is fantastic. And if you roll a successful save against those effects, you crit succeed instead. Breath control is amazing, and I've never seen a person take it once. Canny Acumen is another sort of trick feat that's good early on, but stops doing anything in the mid to late game. You pick one of the 3 saving throws or the perception skill, and you become an expert in it. And at level 17, you become a master. Why is this a trick? Well, most classes improve their saving throws to expert, Not necessarily early, but usually by level 10 to 12, they're an expert in every saving throw. So that's why I say this feat is sort of a trick. It's great at early levels, especially if you're something like a wizard who needs that bump to fortitude saves. That's great. Your fortitude saves aren't going up for probably 9 or 10 levels, but keep in mind, from levels 10 to 17, you're not going to get any benefit from this feat because it doesn't increase again with your class proficiency increase. Die Hard. It's classic and it's simple. You die at dying 5 instead of dying 4. If you're going down a lot, good feat. Different Worlds is fascinating, and it has an interesting prerequisite that you need to be able to select ancestry feats from multiple ancestries. Where I don't know how this works is with versatile heritages. Is an Aasimar an ancestry? No, right? It's a heritage, but it does give ancestry feats, so I think it counts. Basically, what this allows you to do is create 2 personas, one for each of the ancestries you have available to you, and you can create completely different people for each one. Different identity, different background, different everything, aside from obviously your character's actual mechanical skills, and you actually get an additional lore skill specific to that other identity. Now, mechanically, what does this do for you? It gets you that lore skill and a +4 to deception checks to pretend to be that other person. Otherwise, it doesn't really do that much. Any character can have a fake alter ego. Granted, this is just a way to mechanically do it a little bit better. Fast recovery. You gain twice as many hit points back from resting. Now, the efficiency of this is going to change depending on your table, if you're using the actual con mod times level recovery rules, or if your table's just a you rest full HP. The issue I have there is that even if you don't use the auto full HP rest rules, a lot of tables will just say, one person has medicine, okay, once per hour you roll to heal your allies, and everyone's full HP by the time you go to bed, so that's not quite as important. However, what is nice about fast recovery is that when you normal succeed against an ongoing poison effect, you get to reduce it by 2 stages instead of 1, 3 stages on a crit success, and a crit success reduces a virulent poison by 2 stages, which you normally can't even do. And finally, the drained condition goes down by 2 every time you rest instead of just 1. What this means is that, hit points aside, this is still a great feat to fight poisons and to fight the drained condition as a whole. It's pretty good, and it's available right at level 1. Now we get into an interesting breed of general feat that I personally have some issues with from a design standpoint, but I'll save that for the end of the video, so stick around. Feather Step. You can step in difficult terrain, which normally you're not allowed to do. If you're in difficult terrain, you're not allowed to take the step action. If you have this feat, you can. Just a straight up upgrade in combat. While we're on the subject of combat, Incredible Initiative. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to all initiative rolls. This is fantastic and simple, and it's never a bad choice. Ride is a nice quality of life feat, especially if you plan to do a lot of mounted combat, maybe not on animal companions. When you go to command an animal to take a movement action, you don't need to roll nature anymore. You can just do it. Additionally, if you manage to mount an animal in the middle of combat, it skips its next turn. I want to say there's something here. There's some kind of mounted command an animal druid cavalier build out there that lets you manipulate angry animals into becoming your mount for a combat, but I haven't put in the research to make it happen, but this would be a requirement. Because notice, command an animal does not need to be a willing animal, and ride does not say anything about a willing animal. If you are mounted and you command it to move, it moves. Shield Block, just a very solid feat that a few classes get for free. As a reaction, if your shield was raised, you can actually take the hit with your shield, reducing the damage by the hardness, and then taking the reduced damage instead. However, remember your shield also takes that reduced damage, which could break or destroy it. Toughness, you gain max HP equal to your level, and your DC to recover from dying is reduced by 1. This is fine. I feel like toughness is a feat from a bygone age. Now that we live in an era of automatically gaining max HP per level, toughness is a lot less useful. Back in my day, when you had to roll for HP, toughness could be a really good way to make up HP from bad rolls. If you're a fighter and you rolled a D10 to get health and you rolled a 2 a couple times, that toughness could give you that little bit of HP back, but now that you're just getting 10 hit points every level, it's a lot less useful. Especially with how big numbers are in Pathfinder 2e, at level 4, 4 extra hit points probably won't save you. Weapon proficiency, it's the exact same as armor proficiency, it has the exact same issues, it does not improve you past trained, so after levels 7 to 10ish, it becomes a useless feat. And those were all the level 1 feats. Those can actually only be taken at level 1 if you are specifically a human with the general training feat. Otherwise, you don't get your first general feat until level 3, so we're technically still on the first available list of general feats. These can just only be taken by all characters, not just humans at level 1. Starting with Ancestral Paragon, you gain a first level Ancestry feat. Do you want more Ancestry feats from your Ancestry? Take Ancestral Paragon. Hireling Manager, another feat that no one has ever taken because no one understands how the hireling system works, video to come in the future, but whenever you hire a hireling, they get a +2 circumstance bonus to all skill checks they make so long as you have this feat. Improvised Repair is okay. For 3 actions, meaning you can do this in the middle of combat, you fix an item. When you fix an item using Improvised Repair, you don't need to roll anything. It's just an automatic fix. However, the item is considered shoddy until it is fully actually repaired. What does that mean? Well, a shoddy item depends on its item type. If it's a weapon, it takes a -2 to all attack rolls. If it's armor, it takes a -1 to its actual armor class bonus. And any shoddy item has its broken threshold and destroyed threshold reduced by half, so it is very easy to break again. Overall, Improvised Repair is fine, but shoddy items are really, really rough. Keen Follower is a really fun one. It upgrades the Follow the Expert activity, but in a really unique way. Typically, if you are an expert in a skill, your allies can follow the expert to gain a +2 bonus to the same skill check, very often used in stealth. However, if you have Keen Follower and follow your ally who is an expert, you instead get +3 to the bonus, +4 if your ally is Master. A really cool way to improve your abilities to follow directions. This is what I like about general feats. They're very weird, and they upgrade very unique things that class and skill feats don't. I mean, technically skill feats are general feats, but we're talking just general feats here. It's a fun one, I like it, and I need to take it more myself. Pick Up the Pace. Really hard to be considered that useful, but in certain situations, especially if you have a nice GM that makes it count, Pick Up the Pace can be good. You and your entire group can hustle an additional 20 minutes without becoming exhausted. Hustling is a very, very niche game mechanic that is often brushed under the rug in favor of do you sprint there or not, but it is nice for those really hexploration especially, heavy campaigns where hustling could possibly make a difference. Ooh, I bet people have been waiting for me to get to this one. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch my investigator guide. Prescient Planner! You take 1 minute to look around your backpack and pull out an item that you just happen to have. Now, it does retroactively reduce the gold price, and it does have to be a piece of common adventuring gear. Can't be a spell scroll, can't be an alchemical or magical item, can't even be a weapon or a piece of armor. It's just a piece of adventuring gear. So if you need rope and you haven't used this ability since you last went shopping, you can be like, oh wait, I do have rope. This one's not quite as bad because you can't just pull anything out, but it's still just super immersion breaking for me to be able to be like, I have this! But the more Pathfinder I play, the more of these feats I read, the more I do understand why they're there, and the types of players that they can really help. The players who may not be good at planning things, for planning ahead, but their character is, and as I will always say, you should not be required to be as smart as your character. Skitter is really hard to take at level 3 unless you are a human with general training, because you need to have Fleet, which I don't think we've even covered yet. I didn't cover Fleet. Fleet increases speed by 5 feet. Wow, complicated. Jokes aside, this is one of the strongest general feats in the game, almost too strong in my opinion. Everybody takes Fleet, because it's just that strong. Everybody takes Fleet. And the reason it's so strong is because it's not a status increase to speed. It's not a circumstance bonus to speed. It is a speed increase, which does not exist very often. It's just a permanent speed increase no matter what your ancestry is. It's way too good. And it's a requirement for Skitter, and I don't really know why. Skitter just lets you crawl up to half your speed instead of 5 feet. The Dexterity 16 prerequisite, I get. I don't really know why Fleet's a requirement. It just lets you crawl real fast. You can scoot swiftly. Thank you, Paizo, for scoot swiftly. Thorough Search is a nice one, especially if you're not under any kind of time constraint. If you spend twice as long seeking and searching a room, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to the roll. It's plain and simple. You just take your time and gain a bonus. Why is this a feat? I don't know, but it's a good one. Speaking of good ones that are way too strong, Paizo, untrained improvisation. When you use a skill you are not trained in, you can add half your level instead of +0. Once you are level 7 or higher, you can add your full level to untrained skills. That is too strong. If you take this at level 7, because when you take it at level 3, you're getting a +1, +2 to things. It's not that good before level 7. But once you're level 7, and you're a class like a fighter or a champion who have maybe 3 or 4 skill proficiencies because you dumped intelligence, suddenly getting to add +7 to every skill that had a +0, that's ridiculous. You can look at this feat as saying gain a +7 circumstance bonus to all skills you're not trained in, which is most of them. Obviously, it's useless on something like a rogue, investigator, or swashbuckler, but this is insane. This is, unfortunately, it's very rare in Pathfinder 2e, which I give Paizo credit for. This is best in slot. This is the single best general feat in the game, and there is no argument there. It's better than Fleet. It's better than Incredible Initiative. It's just ridiculous. Expeditious Search is our first level 7 general feat and is sort of the opposite of Thorough Search. If you have Master in Perception, you can search for things twice as fast. You don't get a bonus, but you don't get a penalty, which is the most important part. You can search twice as fast as your allies, finding things, and again, if you're in a place where every second counts, this could save your life. Numb to Death is fascinating. Its prerequisites are the Die Hard feat, of course, and you must have died at least once. Once per day. If you are currently dying and an effect would restore hit points to you, you gain additional hit points equal to your level, and you do not gain the wounded condition. This almost gives you dying 6 in a way. Because if you go down, it doesn't matter if you're at dying 4 and someone heals you, you're fine. You're not wounded, and when you go down, you'll be dying 1 again, and you get to get healed by even more. If you get hit by a level 3 heal spell for 3d8 plus 8 plus 7 from Numb to Death, you're back in the fight and ready to go. That is insane. Prescient consumable, I just talked about this. We're growing as a person. Different people like different types of feats. It's allowed to exist. You don't have to like it. Just don't yuck their yums. It's the same thing as Prescient Planner, but now you can actually take out a consumable up to half your level. Plain and simple, this will usually be used to get like an antidote if someone's poisoned or a healing potion in a tight situation. It's not overpowered or anything. It's pretty fun. Super Taster is good, but you need a good GM to make the most of it. Whenever you eat something, the GM rolls a secret check for you to automatically check if it's poisoned. Even if your character is not on alert, they can taste poisons and additives without even trying. Additionally, and this is the reason you take the feat, you can lick or taste something while investigating to gain a +2 to your perception check or recall knowledge roll. If you're trying to learn what left that poop on the ground and you're tracking a big old beastie, unicorn. Ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about a lot of feats here today. Some good, some less good. But I would like to give you what I believe to be the single weakest feat in Pathfinder 2e. And it's sad, because it's a nice, flavorful feat, but mechanically, it's worthless. And it's level 11. May I give you a home in every port. If you are in a town or village, you may spend 8 hours of downtime to procure a lodging for you and up to 6 allies for 24 hours for no charge. It's free! You get comfortable standard of living and square meals at no charge. And after 24 hours, you have to start paying, but hey, you got a day of staying for free. That's good, right? Let's look at the cost of housing, shall we? The cost of comfortable living is 1 gold a week. Do you know how much money this level 11 feat using 8 hours of downtime saves you? 14 silver. It saves you 14 silver. This uses your general feat. You have to be level 11. You need to have a 16 charisma and 8 hours of downtime to save 14 silver. I guess I'm being unfair. If it's you and 6 allies, that's 7 people, so it's actually saving you a gold piece. A whole gold piece just for you. It's the worst feat in the game. It's so sad because it's so flavorful. It's really unfortunate that I just released the worst action video last week, but I have to title this video Worst Feat in Pathfinder 2e. Like, that'll double its views, and I hate it. Caravan Leader, a level 11 general feat, you need to have pick up the pace and an 18 constitution, and rather than the maximum hustle time being based on the highest constitution level in the party, you can now hustle an extra 20 minutes past that. I don't know in how many campaigns that extra 20 minutes really comes in clutch, but maybe. I don't know. I feel like pick up the pace is fine. I wouldn't feel the need to spend 2 of my 4 general feats on hustling. Though while we're on the subject of seemingly useless feats, incredible investiture. You can attune to 12 items instead of 10. Maybe if you're in a super magic heavy game, this could be more useful. But I could not imagine keeping track of 10, let alone 12 different attuned magic items. Because remember, you don't need to attune to your weapons in this game, y'all. The runes just work. These would need to all be specific magic items, and would 2 extra items really make that much of a difference? If you can already invest in 10, how are you not having overlapping bonuses and different conflicting effects? Why? Who needs 12? Incredible Scout. This is a level 11 general feat as well that requires Master in Perception, and when scouting ahead during exploration, you get a +2 to you and your allies' initiative instead of +1. This level 11 feat gives a +1 to initiative for the party, whereas Incredible Initiative gives +2 at level 1. Why are these level 11 feats so bad? And then we jump to level 19. This is the last and only level 19 general feat. There is no level 15 general feats in the game, and that needs to be fixed, but True Perception is probably the strongest general feat, as it should be, because it's level 19. You gain Permanent True Sight, as if it was cast on you at 6th level. You can see through illusions, you can see through transmutations, you can see invisible creatures, as long as your counteract check can manage to beat it, but that's ridiculous. It's really good. You need to be legendary in perception, which means only some classes can take this, which is already kind of an issue with a general feat being limited to certain classes, but that's a whole can of worms. It's just good, you know? If you're level 19 and you have legendary in perception, of course you're taking this general feat. There's no competition. Literally, there's no other level 19 general feats. Come on, Paizo. Where's the late game general feats? We need more late game support for Pathfinder 2e right now, because there's not a lot. Especially because you hit legendary at level 15 with skills. Even skill feats, there's not a lot of high level options. But general feats, everybody gets those. Why are there no options? I don't know. But before we wrap this video up, I do want to talk about my inherent issue with general feats as a whole. Not counting the lack of late game support, that's its own can of worms that we'll talk about another day. I mean, come on. But I want to talk about 6 of these general feats in particular, and those are Featherstep, Fleet, Incredible Initiative, Shield Block, Toughness, and Die Hard. These feats are very good, especially in comparison to the other general feats. They're good the entire game, they're good at any level, and specifically, they're all good in combat. And there's also something else that they have in common that you might have missed. They're all level 1. And they're the only general feats that really affect combat. Sure, weapon and armor proficiency, I guess, affect combat, but these have direct effects in combat, such as going faster, moving faster, stepping when you couldn't, reducing damage. Why are they only level 1? There is no high or mid-level support for combat general feats. And I've been talking to my designers here at developing Sinclair's library. I'm not editing this out because I'm just rambling at this point. We've been trying to design, spoilers, we're trying to design some new general feats to give you more options at those levels, but it's been really difficult. Because there's no combat options at mid to high levels, anytime we design one, it immediately becomes best in slot, which we want to avoid. Pathfinder 2e has done a great job of having no best in slot. Things like untrained improvisation and fleet are really getting there, but there's still options to pick around them. But if we pick something like a level 7 or 11 combat feat, one we've been toying around with is one that gives you an attack of opportunity. I'm not going to throw out details. It's not just attack of opportunity. There's more to it. And we were looking at putting it at level 7 or 11, and either level, it just becomes the best option, because if you're looking for something to accentuate your combat abilities from a general feat, there's no other options. There's the other level 1 feats like Fleet and Incredible Initiative, but if you're looking for a level 7 or 11 general feat that makes you better in combat from a general point of view, yeah, if you add one, it's going to be the only one. So of course we can add multiple, but there's still the difficulty of trying to keep it balanced, and it's a nightmare. The current design of Paizo's general feats are really rough to design around, and I'd love to hear in the comments from anyone who's tried making general feat homebrew of your own if you've faced this same issue, because all of these combat general feats are all at level 1, there's no upgraded versions of them, there's no way to make them better without becoming the single best option. So I want to hear what you think in the comments. Even if you're not a game designer, tell me about your thoughts on general feats in Pathfinder 2e. How do you feel about them? Do you think there should be more of them? Do you think they're fine as they are? Let me know. And as always, I want to give a huge shout out to you watching the video. Thank you so much. You thought I was going to say my patrons. Well, joke's on you. I'm also going to give them a shout out, but I just wanted to shout out to you too. Thank you for supporting the channel. You guys have been watching so much frequently. Our views have been great, and I think they can keep getting better. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to click the link in the description to go to Sinclair's library and check that out. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.